So today is the July 22nd, 2020 board meeting of the Texas State Board of Appointment Examiners will now come to order. The time is 9:04. Due to the Governor Greg Abbott's March 13, 2020 proclamation of the state of disaster affecting all counties in Texas due to coronavirus COVID-19 and the governor's March 16, 2020 suspension of certain provisions of the Texas Open Meetings Act, this meeting will be held by video conference call as authorized by the Texas Government Code Section 551.127. Members of the public will have access and a means to participate in this meeting by the two-way communication by visiting the link provided in the agenda. An electronic copy of the agenda is now available at https://tsbpe.texas.gov/ under open meetings. If you wish to simply watch the meeting live or view a recording of the meeting, it can be found at http://adminmonitor.com/tx/tsbpe/. For public participants, please use the raise hand feature in your Zoom to indicate that you wish to speak during the meeting. When the board reaches the public comment item, the chair will recognize you by name and give you an opportunity to speak. Okay, so now we'll go to item 2, which is a roll call and a certification of quorum. Ms. Dawn?
Mr. Julio Cerda?
Here.
Mr. Ben Friedman?
Here.
Mr. David Garza?
Here.
Mr. Milton Gutierrez?
Here.
Mr. Robert Jalnos?
Here.
Mr. Edward Thompson?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, John. Now we will go to item number 3, which is public comment. I will go ahead and read the following. The board is interested to hear what members of the public have to say and encourages their participation. To allow for diversity of viewpoints, the maximum opportunity for public comment as possible, and in the interest of keeping the meeting on schedule, the board will limit comments to 3 minutes per speaker and will limit the public comment period to 1 hour overall. For the Texas Open Meetings Act, I am authorized to place limits on the number of frequency and length of comments. Public comments will be heard at this time only. The board will not engage in deliberation or respond to comments made during the public comment period. We generally will not answer questions posed during public comment except possibly, if appropriate and time permitting, to address a statement of specific factual information given in response to an inquiry or recitation of existing policy in response to an inquiry. Okay, so we have
Sir?
yes.
I believe Buddy Huberger is here. He had a comment.
Okay, so I have a list that was sent by Dawn as far as blue card for the meeting.
Yeah.
Buddy's in there. So I'll go ahead and call them one at a time and then hopefully hear a response. I'd like to make sure that everybody has their phones off and during the meeting, actually. So I'd appreciate that very much. So first we have Mr. Matthew Wynn.
Resource only, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. We got Mr. Jay Ward. Mr. Jay Ward.
I don't believe he's here.
Okay. So next we got Mr. Buddy Huberger.
All right, good morning. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I spoke at the last live board meeting you had at the John H. Reagan building. I got a little tough on the board for not responding to emails. What I did not realize at the time was that y'all did not receive all the emails. So I want to apologize to you for my comments I made. I want to also apologize to the staff for the misunderstanding. And that's all I have to say, except I highly support the efforts you're doing to make changes to support Texas plumbers. Thanks for your service.
Thank you, Mr. Hubert. Next, we got Mr. Rick Moore. Mr. Rick Moore.
What? Yeah, I'm just watching.
Okay, I have it as Rick Moore. So it's Rick Lord.
Lord.
And we have Moore and Lord.
Yeah, we got to make.
That's not
Rick
more Lords. That's it, one of each.
Okay, one more time, Mr. Rick Moore. Okay, next we got Mr. Breyer.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and board members. I want to thank y'all for everything y'all doing during these trying times. You've got a couple of items on the agenda that I would like to address when they come up, especially in the continuing education field. And so if I could reserve comments on that till we get there, I'd appreciate it. And the other thing is that I don't have the raised hand, somehow didn't show up on my screen. And I didn't know if that's a problem or not. I don't know where it went. I had it last time, but it's not here this time.
It should be right. You have all the participants. It should be on the bottom right-hand side. But in either case, maybe we can. Don, do you have everybody on there?
Yes, sir.
Is there a possibility that if Stanley would like to speak, if he raises his own hand, can you let us know?
Yes,
Okay.
I will.
Okay, then. Well, thank you, Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. We'll try our best, Stanley. If we, this is different. Okay, so we'll try our best to make sure that we take care of it. Okay, so next we got item 4, which is the Enforcement Committee Activity Report.
Shall I proceed, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to make sure that everybody was available. Well, good morning, everyone. I want to go over what the Enforcement Committee has been doing lately. And for those that haven't ever gotten to sit in on a meeting before, this will be a good time for them to get an idea of how many cases we look at in a quarter. And the numbers that I'm going to tell you about are for the third quarter. That would be May. Actually, yeah, these are March, April, and May. So, and this will catch us up for the year. Anyhow, the Enforcement Committee reviewed 226 cases during the quarter, and there were 91 penalties imposed out of those cases. And those cases are complaints for the majority that were submitted through a consumer, and was determined that a penalty would be issued and or, if you want to call it, imposed. And sometimes there may have been more than one, but there was a 91 total during that period of time. And out of those 91, there were 27 contracting without the proper license. So in most cases, there again, the consumer submitted a complaint. We found that there was not a responsible master plumber on board, and a penalty was issued to 27 of those individuals. In addition, there were 27 cases that we were able to get voluntary compliance. So it It does work. And I think Steve will agree, during the pandemic, it seems as complaints have slowed down just a little bit. So, we've got opportunity to really, catch up a lot of items. And I think it's because some of the service work might be down. I don't know. And I'll be happy to go on to the rest of the enforcement committee numbers in regard to review of individuals with past criminal convictions, if you're ready, sir.
Lisa, before you do, on that contract without proper license, is it license expired? Is it a specific reason
It could be that they had no license at all.
at
It
all?
could be that it was an apprentice or a journeyman contracting that didn't have a responsible master plumber. In most of those cases, it's going to be where there was no responsible master plumber at all. I would say a very few of those are because they were expired, and Steve's nodding in agreement with me.
Okay.
I'm sure there might have been one or two.
Okay, because that number is kind of high, so can you, and maybe the next board meeting, just put a side note and see, kind of break that down to, instead of just without the proper license, maybe see if there's no license, or, it wasn't a responsible master plumber, kind of just a little bit of a side note breakdown, see kind of what the problem is there.
I like that idea.
Okay.
We can put a note right out beside the number of contracting without proper license, and just put how many were completely unlicensed, because that is important. And I bring that up because people always want to know, what do you do to those unlicensed people?
Correct.
We certainly do address them. Be happy to do that.
Lisa, I have a question regarding that.
Okay.
The cease and desist orders, though, that's a separate number that are going out to individuals that may have, somebody may have turned them in by a picture or a license plate or something like that. Those are your cease and desist, not the cases that were in front of the enforcement committee, correct?
Cease and desist could include a case that was in front of the enforcement committee, because, excuse me, that's a first step in basically the history of what that individual has been advised of. And in some cases, we want to refer back to that warning if we were to issue a penalty. But a lot of times it's in addition to a penalty. But the cease and desist that are on here today that we'll get to, some of those could include individuals that were addressed through the submittal of a document, or somebody that was out on a job site, or picture, or whatever.
Okay, I just want to make that abundantly clear to the plumbers that are watching and listening out there, that there is an ongoing process to identify these people and to send them information that.
Oh,
Ben, we lost you.
Yeah, so the host
There you
muted me somehow. So anyway, for those out there that are concerned that the board is not looking at people that are unlicensed, and they're concerned that the pictures that they're sending in to the enforcement group are not being addressed, I'm here to say that that is not true, and that as many of these are being processed as possible. And the numbers are they're pretty big. So we encourage everybody to keep sending those in, so that we can try to deter the non-licensed from performing plumbing services that we all know are so very important in our lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Robbie.
Shall I go on?
Let me ask and see if anyone has any questions for the board. Do you have any questions to the staff? Okay, Ms. Lisa, go ahead.
Okay. In addition to those duties, the enforcement committee also looks at individuals that have past criminal convictions, and does a very good job of going through all the detail, all the documents submitted, looking at the conviction in relationship to the duties that they perform, that sort of thing. There were 87 individuals that were reviewed, and 40 of those people were approved. And a lot of times I want to say this, that half of the people we review, when you look at that number as approved, a lot of times it's because when we were ready to review a group of individuals, there's always a certain percentage that has not submitted their documents. So a lot of times it's a matter of an individual submitting all of the information at one time. However, there's times that we simply have to deny someone. And also that includes renewals. We also review renewals. So individuals that are forthcoming with their information regarding any recent convictions since their last renewal, those are also looked at. And there were 36 of those that had to be reviewed. And I'm sorry, there was 36 of those that were approved out of the total number of 87. So that's a great deal of work. And the ones that, the unfortunate few that are not forthcoming with the information relating to a recent criminal conviction, a lot of times those are caught during random checks. We randomly pull a selection out of renewals, new apps, apprentice apps, exam apps, everything, and randomly select some of those every week and check those to make sure that people are truthful and forthcoming with any convictions. And I want to give everybody a handout on that, that it's there are very few of those that are not truthful of late. So in addition, which we can talk about later, I think the fingerprints probably has helped along that too. So I'll answer any questions about those, or I'll be happy to continue on to my other items.
Any questions from the board? Okay, thank you.
Item 4C, which is the summary of complaint cases pending. There's currently 122 of those cases, and some of those may well come off that list. The person may decide to settle. We could end up going to SOA. So that list changes on a daily basis. And it's way down since we've been able to do the defaults in the last year and a half. And it's really made a big difference in the number of cases that we have that might even get near going to SOA. In addition, we believe that once we get an attorney back on board again, just because we don't want to say just because we have an attorney doesn't mean we're not getting stuff done. But I think we can move some of these cases through and get them off our plate as well. So the enforcement department and the enforcement committee does a very good job as a whole. And my next item are the default orders, for which Mr. Friedman referenced a while ago. And in this particular case, these default orders, there again, they could be in addition to a penalty. They could be an initial deterrent. And there's a copy also in your books, and it was out on the virtual documents that actually breaks down those individuals. And there were 13 of them that were issued for a variety of different situations. And those don't require any actions. That's just more or less notice of what we've been doing for you. And we also listed their names on the agenda as well. And if in fact any of these individuals are licensed in this group of 13, we also have the ability to put a copy of their cease and desist attached to their license as well. So you may have, you might have an apprentice that has been warned that they should not contract plumbing work, and they may have been on the verge of it and got a warning. And so in certain cases, we might want to put that out there. Some we may not, but we have the ability to put the warnings as well now. And we also send those certified mail and regular mail in hopes of making sure that they get a copy. I think sometimes people just don't want to go to the post office and pick up certified mail, so we go ahead and send it to just regular mail in hopes that they do get that notice. So we made every effort. In addition, my next item are the board order. And actually, I see something out of order in my packet. I hope it's not out of order in your packet. No, there we go. I just flipped the wrong page. We have a board order that has the administrative penalties on it. This particular order does require action from the board, and these all relate to cases that have been carefully reviewed and evidence has been developed. We have contacted the individuals, and the individuals actually agreed to pay the penalty and move through the process and be done with it. And on this particular board order, you'll see that it is broken out as to contracting or violating the plumbing code or that sort of thing. And beside each one of those has a respondent name, and whether you'll notice too, whether or not they have a license, it also says none on this particular order. And this order, in almost every case, does go out and get attached to their license. And the public, if they wanted to go look John the plumber up, can click on supplemental documents below that individual's name and take a look at the order as well.
Lisa,
Yes, sir.
I got an action to take care of. I guess it would be under 4D. And that would be to schedule of applications for approval, including approval of applications listed in the schedule, and including authorization for the board chair to sign the schedule on behalf of the board.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. There is supposed to be a motion there.
Oh, did we miss a? Yeah, this particular one does require a motion. This one is the executive director has the authority to sign this particular order.
Okay, but under 4D, we have a schedule of application for approval or after revocation concerning the individual's license registration were previously revoked and are reapplying for registration as a plumber apprentice or take journeyman.
Oh, I apologize.
Two individuals on there.
My apologies. I missed two people.
Okay,
Shall I go back over those?
yes, please.
Okay, my apologies to everybody. Certainly don't want to miss that individual.
Okay, so we're back to 4D.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Okay, there is a schedule in your board packets, and it has two individuals that have made application for plumber's apprentice registrations, and both of those individuals, that is Ronnie Iloff, I don't know exactly how he says his name, but and Calvert Smith. Those individuals were revoked, and they're reapplying for a plumber's apprentice, and they submitted all of their documents, all their rehabilitation items, and the enforcement committee would like to approve those individuals and get them moving back into their plumbing career.
Okay. So do you hear a motion to approve the schedule of applications for approval, including approval of applications listed in the schedule and including authorization for the board chair to sign the schedule on behalf of the board?
Ed Thompson, I'll make that motion.
Do we hear a second?
Robbie
Ben,
Chalmers,
I'll
second.
So I got a motion and a second, and I heard Robbie on the second. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Hearing none. All the motion carries unanimously. Okay, so the best way to do it, Juan, when we basically ask for a vote, so I think everybody's going to be considered voting for And when I ask for an opposed, somebody's gonna either say, or several people are gonna say, and then we'll state their names as far as the opposed. That way I have a better chance of understanding who voted for and who against. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right then. Then we jump to item 4E.
My apologies. That goes back to the, I had did those cease and desist, those 13 cease and desist.
Yeah.
And yeah, it looks like I got something out of order here in my new document prep. So the next one's the cease and desist I just spoke of, those 13, those do not require any action. Those are strictly for notice and to let the public know that we issued those.
Okay. So next we jump to item 4F.
And F is the order of the individuals that have agreed to pay the penalties. And those are all contained in there. And that's the one that I mentioned also contains information relating to whether or not they have a license or not. And there are actually 5 pages that have all of those individuals' names on them.
Very good.
And that one, if the board is so chooses to adopt it, then I will get those posted on our website to the individuals that they relate to.
Very good. Do I hear a motion to approve the board order of administrative penalties, including authorization for the executive director to sign the order on behalf of the board and enforcement committee?
David Garza, so move.
Got a
Robbie
motion?
Thomas, second.
Got a motion and second? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay. So, agenda items 4G, H, and I pertain to regular business concerning the agreed final orders, SOA proposals for decision, and SOA defaults for which there are no items for consideration at this time, at this board meeting. And as a result, the board will now proceed to agenda item J. So now we have agenda item J, and that's will now take up and consider adoption of the following default final orders reflect the default order schedule. So, Ms. Lisa?
And Steve, if you want, do you want to talk about those orders, or is there anything in particular on those? You're certainly welcome to. Uh-oh. There's actually 13 different individuals that we had the default orders issued on in this particular case.
Yeah, this actually started out to be a larger number. Started out, I believe, at 22. What we do is we send out a pre-letter that kind of lets them know, hey, guess what? These are going to be going to the full board for approval of default order. What do you want to do? So a lot of times we'll get responses that way, you know, and they'll let us know that, oh, we didn't receive your first letter, so we would like to take care of this. So like I said, that's why for the most part this is quite a bit smaller than what we have initially seen in the past. So that just kind of want to let you know that's we do actively try to get these resolved prior to the board, get these individuals. A lot of them are licensees that, like I said, for some reason didn't receive or maybe chose not to respond to us, and then, you know, now they decided that it's probably in their best interest to go ahead and get this done. So again, that's you know, it's a good way to address these and get the numbers down a little bit prior to y'all having to take a look at them. After this, we will, after the board meeting, and these are approved, we'll immediately send out letters of default order, and then we'll try to get response back again. If we don't get that, we'll send out a demand letter, and then after that, it'll be forwarded to the AG's office.
Steve, for those who says that they didn't get the material, didn't get the first order, what do y'all do? Y'all reach back out for a second time prior to
Yes,
the
we'll
board?
go ahead and we'll resend the notice of alleged violation. We want them to, if we can, we'll go ahead and work with them on the initial settlement agreement. Some actually decide, they'll be able to handle it, but they need a payment plan. We'll go ahead and set them up on a payment plan, and we'll try to solve it that way.
But if I'm hearing it right, y'all reach back out to those individuals again before they come on this list?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So we don't have to read out the names, Lisa, so we can go ahead and adopt or
the list is smaller this time, and I'm sure Steve would be happy to read them all.
Sure.
It's actually unnecessary, Mr. Chairman, because
All right,
the
Venus
names are
saved you,
listed
Steve.
on the agenda.
do I hear a motion to adopt the schedule of default orders and adopt the board orders listed therein, including authorization for the board chair to sign all documents on behalf of the board?
Yeah,
Milton
Tom,
Gutierrez, so moved.
I got a motion. Do I hear a second?
Robbie, second.
I got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those against? David, was that
That was an aye.
okay? Well, okay. All
Mr.
those
Chairman,
against? Yes,
I'm sorry. Who had made the motion?
it was Milton.
Milton. Thank you.
Okay, making the motion, guys. Make sure you state your name. So we got to vote. So we got a motion. Motion carries unanimously. Okay. So next item is 4II, which is board schedule default final orders adopted into section 1301.704 of the zoning law. That's it for that, right, Lisa?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now we got item 5. Item 5, we got the Rules Committee report. We got Mr. Robbie Jones to present the Rules Committee report. Robbie?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we have two rules that we've made some minor changes to, and I'll go over those right now. The first rule has to do with the chapter 361, which is administration, and it's rule 361.1, and it has to do with the definitions. And the board has adopted these rules, and I'll read you what the changes are. Under A, the following words and terms, when used in this part, have the following meaning, unless the context clearly indicates otherwise. Number 1 through 36 have no change. 37 adds the word plumbing. A has no change. And then this is one of the changes here. This is under B. The installation, repair, service, maintenance, alteration, or renovation of all piping, fixtures, appurtenances, and appliances on premises where person live, work, or assemble that supply gas, medical gases, and vacuum, water, liquids, or any combination of these, or dispose of wastewater or sewage. Plumbing includes the treatment of rainwater to supply a plumbing fixture or appliance. The term service includes, but is not limited to, cleaning a drain or sewer line using a cable or pressurized fluid. And then 38 through 56, there was no change. And on B, there was no change. So those are our changes to 361.1.
Okay.
I'll move up. Yeah.
Do I hear a motion to adopt the amendment to the Board Rules 22, Texas Administrative Code Sections 361.1 as written and as previously proposed, with no changes to the proposal, and to publish the preamble and amended rule to the Texas Register for adoption?
Robbie, I make a motion that we adopt.
You got a motion? Do I hear a second?
Ed Thompson, second.
You got a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those against? Motion carries unanimously. Very good. Okay, next we jump to item B. And that's the, go ahead, Robert.
Okay, so item B is the adoption of amendments to Texas Administrative Code Title 22, Part 17, Chapter 367, under enforcement. 367.10, display of responsible master plumber name and license. And under 367.10, there's, you know, quite a bit to that. Dina, do I need to read all of this?
No, Mr. Doldos, you can simply state that the, under reason justification, you can read that if you'd like.
Okay, all right, I'll do that. Okay, so section 367.10 governs the instances when a plumbing company must provide disclosure of the license information of the master plumber acting as the responsible master plumber, RMP, for the company, and of certain information concerning the board's regulatory oversight, including on company service vehicles, invoices, and advertisements. The amendment will relax requirements concerning the display of an individual's certificate of licensure and the signage required for plumbing service vehicles. With respect to advertising, the proposed amendment makes changes to modernize the rule and account for changes in technology, such as the internet and digital advertising platforms, and changes in the marketplace, such as the proliferation of franchisors or franchisees relationships. The amendment will expand the advertising and promotional activities expressly deemed to be exempt from the rules requirement, thereby limiting existing regulations. And Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve.
And
Okay,
it would be a motion to adopt.
Adopt, yes.
okay, so we have a motion to adopt the amendment to the Board Rules 22, Texas Administrative Code, Section 367.10, as written and as previously proposed, with no changes to the proposal, and to publish the preamble and amended rule in the Texas Register for adoption. I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Milton Gutierrez, second.
We got a motion and a second. In discussion?
Ben here. I think the questions come up in the trade regarding magnetic signs as being acceptable for the information required on a truck. Can you provide some clarification on that? Does it have to be fixed, or can it be magnetic, or what?
Lisa, I mean, I think we allow magnetic, but Lisa, you can talk more on that.
There's so many individuals that contract for multiple companies that it's not removing the need for the sign. However, it's going to allow those individuals that contract for multiple companies to simply switch their sign in a magnetic fashion.
Okay.
A lot of them use their personal truck for work too. So, and it was something.
So if I'm a subcontractor, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And on the contract portion there, what we did is basically we took our rule and made the amendments to it, and these were all posted out on the register for comments during the board's original proposal for amendment. But now each contract will basically have the word regulated by, which is consistent with almost every other occupational licensing. As far as notice to the public, it simply says regulated by the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners. And we know that it's going to take a period of time for people to fix their invoices and that sort of thing, but we wanted to get it out now maybe, I know they don't have extra time to do it, but now is the time to get it out into the continuing education providers' hands, and then they can also forward it to the plumbers. So it's a very small change, but it'll make us be consistent with other licensing, occupational licensing boards.
Ben, are you done? Go ahead, Ben.
Somebody else had a.
With regard to the magnetic signs, again, it'd be a subcontractor with with different signs depending on who they're working for at that time.
That they could change signs if they needed to and do it quickly. And what it's going to do is it's going to give us the opportunity to know who they're working for. Right now, they may have 10 signs up there and they forget to change one to the other. And so, you know, we've got a lot of big fish to fry out there. However, to delay us in trying to figure out who works for who, this will make it a lot more simple.
Yeah,
basically.
I think it's a good idea. I hear a lot online that, you know, this is going to be a challenge, and so I want people to know that, you know, the board is doing everything they can to streamline this for the better of the trade, not try to confuse people.
Well, in no way is it going to limit the need for a sign. It's going to clarify the need for the sign, and it's going to provide an opportunity for those people that contract for 10 different companies to get in the game and make themselves known is what the intent is.
Well, and I think another issue, if you were an old guy like me and you had a business back in the 80s, you probably had a magnetic sign and it worked just fine. And then some people can afford wrappers and really dress up a vehicle, make it their focal point, and that's their billboard to advertise. And others are just struggling, and they've got a personal vehicle. They take their wife out to eat to dinner in the same vehicle that they work out of. So, you know, I think it gives an option. But again, mainly it is that subcontractor that we're finding out on the job site that the responsible master hands them a permanent sign to put on their vehicle, and they put it back behind the seat. And it's not that the responsible master is not responsible for that. It's the fact that, you know, there's a lot of jobs and maybe they're not keeping up with it. And this will give them a better opportunity to have those subs put the sign on it, on the job site, easy to recognize, and, kind of helps the field rep where we can, you know, verify we have compliance and we go on, and we're not having to deal with signs on a vehicle. So. Right.
I completely agree. I just think that there's a lot of confusion out there. So, you know, I would say to the CE providers, this is probably a good topic to bring up and make sure that the students understand how it's going to work.
Mr. Chairman, if I can jump in.
Please.
The preambles that y'all are adopting are the ones that appeared in your materials that were emailed to you, not the ones that are in your written materials. Just wanted to clarify that there are some changes that we made that were not captured in the written materials.
Right, that was one of my questions. Thank you, Bina, for clearing that up.
Thank you, Bina.
And Lisa, I have a question for you. What kind of feedback did we get from the public on this, if any?
Very little. I got nothing in writing. Mostly discussion, just to clarify. I think there was some concern that there, when we actually got, we had some conversation quite a ways back about the regulation of vehicles through the requirement of signs. And during those conversations, we also made it clear that the plumbing board is consistent with other license types as far as requiring signage. And certainly didn't want anybody to think that signage was not required. So, but no written comments in opposition or for that were included in the what was posted on the register, what will be posted on the register as far as the adoption and the preamble goes.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Vina, for clearing that up.
No problem. Mr. Chairman, if I can just jump in. Any comments that were received prior to publication don't need to be addressed in the adoption preamble. However, if there are comments that were made in conversations, those need to be responded to in the adoption preamble. So just wanted to clarify that there are no comments that were received after the proposal that have not been addressed.
So noted. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those against? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Okay, next, thank you. Thank you, Robbie. Next, we go to continuing professional education CPE committee report, Mr. Donald.
Okay, I'm back. Thank you, Mr. Sherman. So for CPE, we've made a couple of changes. Those changes have to do with the pandemic that's going on. Our board, our plumbing license laws or board rules did not have any information pertaining to that, since this pandemic's new to us here. So I'm going to read the changes that we've made. So on one of them, the first one has to do with virtual classes. I know I took a virtual class and I enjoyed it very much. I thought it went very smoothly and did the job of the 6-hour continuing education. So what we want to clear up is we want to talk about the class size. So if you're doing a virtual class, you can do a class size up to 30 students, as long as there's an additional proctor, someone to watch that all 30 students, help the instructor monitor the class. The 30's not the 45 that we allow for in person, but 30 on a Zoom, we felt was very doable. So that was one of the changes that we're proposing to make there. Give me 1 second.
Darren, excuse me, Robbie, if I could add something too.
Uh-huh.
We initially started out with 15 during the temporary introduction period of virtual classes, and 15 was working pretty well. And the conversation that we had, most everyone seemed adamant about it. We can certainly throw it around when we get ready to propose the final rule. But for temporary purposes, I think that was 20 to 30 was the majority of what people seemed or felt compelled to be able to handle in a virtual class.
Yeah, and I went with the 30. I just think we're playing some catch up here, and so
Most definitely.
this will allow a lot of additional plumbers to get their CPE for the year. Next has to do with the approving the virtual training for 2021. There was on June 26th, there was a staff meeting. The staff held a virtual workshop for the instructors and the providers, and has made a video available to those providers and instructors that did not get to attend. So that is available for additional clarification of how to, perform your virtual training. And then that was part B. Part C was consideration and possible approval of the 2019-2020 continuing professional education course instructors submitted by the 2019-20 business or associate CPE course provider list below. Individual instructors are nominated by and for their sponsoring course provider for board approval. To inspect the complete list of instructors for a particular provider, you may contact Don Saravia, executive assistant. There's just one person that's we need to approve, and that person is Melissa Adams, and she's with Pioneer Educational Services Incorporated. So I make a motion that we approve Melissa Adams.
Very good. Thank you, Robbie. So we'll go ahead and we have a motion on the floor that to approve Melissa Adams. Do I hear a second?
Yeah, Thompson.
Ben.
Second.
Okay, so we got a motion and a second from Ed. Any discussion?
Did you get your new magazine in from NRH yesterday?
Okay.
Mute.
Yes, please. We got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Okay, so next, thank you, Robbie. Next, we got the audit committee report for Mr. Ed Thompson.
Mr. Chairman, I have nothing to report at this time.
Thank you so much, Ed.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Stanley Briers, before you leave the continuing education and the Zoom meetings, I've been talking to a number of our instructors, and I heard the wanting to take the classes to 30 people, and most of the ones I've talked to seem to think that around 15 people is what they can handle, and doing that and requiring two screens in their office, and no iPads or tablets, and so that thing really needs to be looked into. I attended this convention we had online over the weekend, and even though they worked at it very hard, it was kind of a disaster. So I don't want to see us get into something here by getting too many folks that our instructor can't correctly monitor, and students don't have the ability to talk to that instructor as they're given the classes. We're here for education, and not to slide through these classes in a hurry. So I sure want a lot of thought given to this before we get these rules set out hard and fast. It seems to me like we're running on 15, and until we get that where it works smoothly, I think 15 is probably what they ought to do until the board is able to regulate it and have a lot more expertise in that field as we move along. I just don't want to jump off and throw it open to where we've got a bunch of problems with it. So I'm asking that we really take a hard look at the size of those classes, the number of monitors in the instructor's room, and then what kind of what the student is working off of. He shouldn't be working off his iPhone or iPad tablet. So there's probably some more thought that needs to go into this, and I certainly would be willing to work with the committee on working this thing out so that we do the best job for our licensees that we can do. We have an awful good setup now with the classes that we give are well received by our licensees. I sure want to keep it that way. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, may I address that? Mr. Breyer's comment?
Go ahead.
So when we met and discussed all this, and we, you know, we're good with the 15, that 15 was with an individual instructor. And we found that that's pretty easy to monitor on these virtual meetings. If you notice the change, we went to 30, that's 15 more, but you're required to have a monitor present. And so the teacher watches 15 and the monitor watches 15. So it's basically doing the same thing you're asking, except we're allowing more plumbers to attend as long as there's someone looking after them. The second part of what you said about how the student attends the class, not all students have computers with cameras and all this kind of stuff, but they do have phones with cameras. So as long as they're attending and participating and the instructor and the monitor can see them as present, then, you know, it's a, you know, it should be fine. I know when I took my virtual class, one person had left the camera view and the instructor noticed it, you know, said, where are you, you know, Mr. ABC? And he came back in with a sandwich, said, I went and made a sandwich, but I could hear everything you all were saying. So that's going to be happening. But again, the instructor was right on top of it. He noticed the person was missing and he addressed it.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, this is Rick Moore. I can't make my video work, but can I make a comment on that too?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Rick.
Okay. I can tell you that we're teaching some classes at ACA with Zoom and that are not in person, but it's the same as our in-person class. Okay, except we're doing it over video. And if we have more than 20, because that's the number of people that pop up on our screen, then the executive director over there acts as the second person to monitor that. Also, during this pandemic, I've got a granddaughter that needs to go to the doctor and a psychiatrist and a therapist, and they can do all their meetings via Zoom with an iPad. Okay. So matter of fact, we were even in a situation where we were in a facility and the doctor was they put up an iPad in the room and the doctor was on the iPad communicating with us. So I think that the iPad iPhone situation, I know I was on an inspection recently in Frisco, and you call the inspector up and then he flips you to video and you show him everything that he asked for, and you can do that. So I think if the rest of the world is operating on this technology, and this is going to be something that's here to stay. Some of these cities are already saying video inspections is probably how they're going to do occupied housing from now on. I think we need to adjust to what the new world order is on how we're going to have to deal with people and everything like that. So thank you for my opportunity to comment.
This is David Garza. I also want to share that I want to agree and say that iPads and tablets and all the Zoom meetings that I've been in my professional capacity have seemed to have been more reliable for people than computers. You know, they kind of set themselves up rather than people messing with computers. So I have no problem with it. It's how I'm on right now, and it works very well for me.
Also, Mr. Chairman, one of the reasons when we adopted this and to make this change is we was also trying to adjust to the new technology that's here and that will be here in the future as well. So that's one of the reasons iPads, iPhones, and the different things was because basically the iPhone is a computer now, whether you want to accept it or not, you know.
I think there's a misunderstanding here, if I may speak.
I'm sorry. Go ahead and state your name and.
This is Bobby Doran, and I got Adam. We got an apprentice class going on right now. Say hi to the apprentices. A bunch of them back there. So, but anyway, I think the misunderstanding is you're talking about the students. We don't have a problem with the students. I think Stanley was talking about the teachers themselves having to have the right hookups and setups and things like that with the double screen and things like that. It wasn't the students he was referring to. It was the instructors. Now, what I don't understand is when you're talking about with the second monitor with 30 people. I mean, I can hook up my deal and I can walk out of that office and I can be the monitor. What I don't understand is if you have 30 people, why don't you have 15 and have 2 instructors? If you got another monitor as an instructor, well, let them do their own class. What's the difference? It doesn't make sense to sit there and have a monitor who's not paying attention, who you may think they are, but I can promise you they're not going to. This is not about money. This is about education, and I'm very serious about it. I mean, 15 people, I understand. You take a cut in your pay. That's not the idea here. The idea here is to give proper training and education. So if you have 30 people, you have 2 instructors. Let one monitor become an instructor. It's that simple. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robador.
Mr. Chairman, I want to add one more thing. Doesn't pertain to this subject matter. I don't know the exact number, but I've heard recently that we have lost some of our licensed plumbers to COVID. And I just want to send a message out there. As you well know, you need to be as careful as you can, because those plumbers that are going in other people's homes, you don't know what's going on there, if they got someone sick upstairs or what. But we've had some of our plumbers already pass away, and I just urge everyone to be as careful as they can be. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Robbie. Okay, so
Hello. This is Mary Conger. I was going to see if I could say a few comments.
Go ahead, Mary.
Thank you. First, board, thank you for being so forward thinking with this and really jumping on it so quickly. How this to be able to use this, especially what Mr. Jalno said of the situation that's occurring right now. And so I have taught several virtual classes, and my monitor constantly scrolls through. And just as Mr. said, if a screen goes black or if they get kicked off, we work to get them back on immediately and have not had any issues at all. I do teach a class that had, my husband is also a certified instructor as well. So he was on there, and then we also have monitor, and all they did the entire time, even that second instructor, was to scroll through into monitor. So I do believe that it can be successfully done at, and definitely I think it would be a good thing to be able to have that class size, get them in so they can get their CE hours. But again, thank you for this opportunity for me to be able to speak, and really thank you for that forward thinking and progressive action of getting plumbers what they need.
Thank you, Mary. That was really nice of you to say that.
Mr. Chairman, can I add something, please?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Robbie and I have been discussing when and how soon we can have a meeting to hash out some of the workshop stuff that we've been talking about. And bear in mind, all this virtual classes this is a temporary situation and a test scenario during the pandemic. I mean, it's new for everybody. And so we're going to set up a committee meeting, and it'll be a joint committee meeting, and that'll be the time that we can hash out and put together some items for proposal back to the full board. And so that's coming very soon. And I'm sure all these people will want to attend, and we can come up with some good language. Ed's worked on this and thought about it, and Robbie and I and staff, and so we'll be posting a meeting soon to get some, maybe come up with some finalization on this stuff. This is just a test run, and we're trying to get through this pandemic, and hopefully we get everybody caught up. You know, we're still putting CE markers in for people that are late, trying to get them renewed until they can get in a class. So it's kind of, it's fluid. I hate to use that word because that's everybody's favorite buzzword right now, but it most certainly is.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Lisa. And anybody else have any comments?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to comment on a couple of things. I want to thank Lisa for getting this committee meeting set up so we can hash this thing out, because you know, the last bunch of meetings we always talk about how old our licensees are getting, and what we need to remember is that the younger set can do this a lot better than this older set. So when we set this meeting up and we talk about it, we're going to want to make it where the older licensees can feel comfortable about getting into these classes and handling them this way. So we've got to really think about that. Not everybody is attuned to this new world that some of us are. So anyway, thank y'all for really delving into this a little bit, and thank y'all for the committee meeting that we're going to have. We can probably get it worked out at that point. Thank you.
What you trying to say, Stan?
I think you're doing a great job, Stanley, with virtual.
Well, we've had some practice at it.
Okay, I believe, thank you, Stanley. I believe we have Adam has raised his hand. Adam?
No, that was me. I was raising my hand. But Adam's teaching for me today.
Okay, that was a while back.
Oh,
Okay.
that's Bobby
Sorry
on
about
that.
that.
All right then. Okay, I think we've gone to 6 and we did 7. Thank you, Robbie, again for your input, and thank you, Mr. Thompson, for jumping to the next one. Now we'll go to item 8, and that's examination department report.
That's me again. Well, I'm going to tell you that we continue to struggle through the pandemic, but I want to say this publicly, and then we'll get any feedback we need to, but every single person, I hope it's every single person that was, that had been postponed has now been rescheduled. And our goal is to have all those people that were rescheduled completed by the end of August. And there are about 380, let me say, we'll have about 400, over 400 people done remotely by the end of August. And there's quite a few groups scheduled in Lubbock, Dallas, Fort Worth, Corpus. We just did a small group in San Antonio, and we've got to do this to get people caught up, to stay on track the best that we can through this pandemic. And I'm going to tell you, those examiners work their rears off every day. It's a lot of extra steps to check people in. It's extra steps when we go to remote locations. We have a really neat box made up, and it has the exams in it. They're paper that can be graded and destroyed, hand sanitizer, gloves, face masks, all these requirements. And slowly but surely, we're going, by the end of August, have those people that got postponed caught back up. And we certainly hope that we don't have to postpone again. So we're carefully and steadily moving through this thing and get everybody up and running. So if you're listening to me now and you were previously postponed, And when I say postponed, let me define that. That's someone that had received a letter during March, April, or May and didn't get to take their exam. So you should have a new letter by now, at least by Friday, and know that we've squeezed you in somewhere. We made a spot. We're coming to your town, whatever the case may be. So it hadn't been easy, and the examiners need a big hand because they've really worked hard to do it safely and get everybody through here.
Congratulations to you and staff on accomplishing that, Lisa. Make sure staff know the board appreciate that.
And I certainly will. We also have, there's about, and I think I sent you the latest wrap up. I sent you a breakdown of where we're at on the exam. And I want to say one thing. There's about, since I've ran this and printed it, there's 600 people waiting for exam. There's probably about 680 now. We got a pretty good group of applications in this week. They just keep coming. It's not slowing down. Business isn't slowing down in Austin. Don't know how it's doing in most other areas of the state, but we're getting people all over the place wanting to take an exam. So that 599 that I put on your document there as far as scheduled, those are every bit scheduled, plus another probably 280 have been scheduled. So there's a whole lot of them, and we still have, and I'll tell you, we still have, let me turn it around where I can see it better, and I'll tell you, there is, I'm not going to do every one, but there's some journeymen that are coming back for the 15th, or for the second time. There's 15 of those. There's 21 masters that are coming back for a second try. There's 7 master med gas that are coming back for a second try. That's not an easy exam. I mean, it takes some studying. There are 16 out of 59, or 16 in addition to 59 tradesmen that are scheduled to take the exam. 16 of them are coming back for a second time. 8 of them are coming for a third time. 4 of them, 1 of them is coming for a 4th time, and 5 of them are coming for the 5th time. So they're getting better. This little break in between here where may have actually helped some people say, gosh, I got some extra time to study. And they studied, and I think a lot of the master plumbers have been putting a lot of extra effort in some of these people. And so the tradesmen are doing well. They're doing better. And we saw some signs in the last few weeks that's obvious that some of them have been studying, but we need to keep it up because the less times, there's no harm in coming back a second time, but the less times you come, the more room it is for everybody else. So it's not uncommon. We do get people to come a second time, but sure, the more we can do on the first try, the more study, the more prepared, the better off we all are. And right now, if we can keep this pace, if I just don't wear out the examiners completely, last year we did over 3,000 exams. And right now, through the end of May, that's our calculating period. That's the end of the quarter. We were at 2,422. And so by the end of August, we'll be pushing where we need to be. Even though we've had this shutdown, we're doing everything we can to still make the number that we, our estimated numbers anyway, or get close to last year. So, but with an extra examiner, it sure does make a difference too. And we've got them scheduled and kind of spread out around the state where, and for an example, one of our examiners that lives far north of here was able to run up and do a Fort Worth location, come back, and then the following week run up and do a Dallas location. We also have someone that lives closer to Houston, so we worked that out to where they could go out and give a group of exams and then bring everything back to the office in one day, and it worked out pretty well. And so we've done everything we can to catch those people up that were postponed. And
Lisa, I have a
also-
question.
Okay.
This is Ben. Can you speak to the numbers I'm seeing? This is just fiscal year. I don't really have the last quarter, but these remote locations where the journeyman written and in some cases the tradesman written, the pass fail rate is there's not a lot of people passing in these remote areas. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, and I want to clarify that, and thank you for bringing that back up. I wanted to mention that we found while we were calculating these measures, because the additional information is new to the computer system that has to do with remote locations, that it's not counting the scores correctly in the remote locations. So we're actually in the process of redoing that, and they tell us they might not get some of our changes done till August. But we found one change that we could do that has to do with individuals that don't show up and not calculating it as in one place of fail and one place of pass. So yeah, that we're not happy with. We believe that most of those remotes are successful based on our manual counts.
Okay, because
So can't always trust the computer.
Yeah, I hope not, because I'm just looking at the journeyman written for the last 9 months in Dallas, and you had 75 examined and only 10 passed.
Yep,
So,
you're right. And we
so,
saw that, and we know that, and
yeah.
this is what it produces, but we know that we have to tell it to do something different to really
do we
get
know
it
what the
down there.
percentage is of people that don't show up to these scheduled tests remotely?
Remotely, it's very, very small. In-house, it's been really difficult of late, and we've been looking at another way to capture it, and we were actually going to make a separate column for them because we found another way to capture them. And let me define what a no-show is. A no-show is somebody that said, I'm going to be there. We saved you a chair and you didn't show up. Now, that's different from someone that called and said, you know, here's proof. My car broke down. The tow truck had to come get me. That's different. We're going to reschedule you. You know, we're not going to charge you. We're not going to put more of a burden on you. We're going to try to help you out and find you a spot. But that's somebody that truly has proof that they were unable to appear. It's an example.
Sure.
So
another quick question. Those that no show, like literally no show, are their employers notified, or do we have the right to notify them that they no showed?
You know, a lot of people actually put their employer's email address on the application. So that's the way that we're communicating with them anyway. And so it's when we get those no-shows and we start looking and wondering, a lot of times we're hearing from an employer as well, and we're communicating with an employer.
Okay.
Certainly we don't have time to call every no-show and say, you know, what's the deal? It's their responsibility. But when we have time, we do reach out, and especially right now, because we want to make sure we didn't miss anybody. But in a regular non-pandemic world, we wouldn't reach out.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa.
And I want to add one more thing. And I left it on, I've been leaving it on here because we had these big plans again to try to do these inspectors at some conferences, or I had a couple of people reach out again and say, hey, could we do a group of inspectors if we could get a city to let us use their facility or even use some of the facilities we're already using. So there again, we may, depending upon how things go and depending upon how the cities as the employer feel about the inspectors coming, we may try to do some endorsements in a remote location and get some med gas done for some inspector groups. And so any of those out there that are interested in that, get in touch with me, and we'll find a spot, maybe a central area where we have 4, 5, 6, 7, and try to get some of those endorsements done for the inspectors. Keep them from traveling some too.
You can use our location.
And Bobby, you've got a spot. We can borrow your spot there too. And
Okay.
we had a couple of cities that said they may have a location available too.
Okay, next item, Lisa.
That is Steve's.
Okay, so
Turn.
Workman.
Enforcement.
Thanks, Chairman. Field activity, of course, this quarter has been our full COVID-19 quarter, I guess you could call it.
His mic is not on.
Excuse me, Steve. Can everyone hear Steve?
Now they can, since I'm off of mute.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, so this quarter was our full COVID-19 quarter, so we had to pull, of course, the field representatives out of the field. Of course, when they give you lemons, you try to make lemonade. So in doing so, we've been able to concentrate solely on.
Steve?
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, Steve. Can you have Lisa muted? Because we're hearing you twice there. Mute hers.
Mute, Lisa?
I'm muted.
Okay. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Turn yours down a little bit.
I did.
Okay.
Are we okay now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, the COVID-19 has been kind of relating to this full quarter, having to pull field investigators out of the field. But again, we're utilizing them strictly on the consumer complaints, and also I do want to thank the plumbers out there that are contacting me directly and sending pictures and advertisements and things like that for us to pursue as well. That really helps a lot. Providing pictures of vehicles with the license plate is a big help. So just kind of keep that in mind. If anybody's listening, keep those coming. And if you don't have my email address, feel free to call me. I gave out 2 yesterday to plumbers that didn't have them. So that said, of course, our numbers are going to be down this quarter. You can see on the field activity summary report, political subdivisions at 74, individuals contacted 863, unlicensed, unregistered persons contact 68, compliance checks were performed 530, licensed and registered persons found 160, potential violations found during compliance checks 58, investigations conducted 227, and CE classes monitored 4. Like I said, the one thing that this is helping us with, the number of complaints have tapered off somewhat, kind of give us a little bit of breathing room, and giving us a chance to get a resolution time down as well. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, it's understood with this pandemic, the numbers going down, but nevertheless, I think people are still reaching out to the plumbing.
We just have to adapt. Yeah.
Just in case there's people out there that need your email, can you just state your email real quick?
Yeah, Steve, STEVE .Davis, DAVIS at TSBPE.texas.gov. So just add Steve.Davis in front.
We also have an email for complaints.
What was that?
Lisa.
Lisa?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what you said, Lisa.
I'm sorry, I was just going to say we also have an email for complaints that's just complaints at TSBPE.Texas.
All righty. Thank you so much, Steve, for all the hard work that you have the guys doing out in the field, and we just got to continue it. We got item 10, financial department reports. Ms. Myra Samarita.
Hi, thank you, Chairman Seda. The quarterly financial statements are under tab 14. Page 1 has two schedules. The first schedule shows the original fiscal year 2020 appropriation for the board, plus any transfers and additional revenues we have received and what the board has spent so far in each strategy for fiscal year 2020. The second schedule shows agency expenditures through the third quarter of fiscal year 2020. Theoretically, we should have spent about 75%, and we are only at 66.8%. On page 2, the board is still having a fairly good year given the pandemic. Our revenues really haven't slowed down at all. In fact, they have increased by 0.9% as compared to the same time period during the fiscal year 2019. On page 3, the table shows the estimated number of licenses and registration fees received through the third quarter of fiscal year 2020. It also shows the number of examinations fees received as compared to fiscal year 2019. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report, and we will be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Meyer. So we're at the yeah. So we're basically at 100% on all categories, right?
Right.
Which is very good. So that means that people are still working in the state of Texas, and people are still they're still getting their licenses, and that's very good. Any questions for Ms. Meyer? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good job, Mara.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
Okay, so next we got legislative appropriation request. Lisa?
We discussed this at the last board meeting, and I said if there were any changes, I'd bring them to your attention. But as it stands, if it so pleases the board, we'll move on with a very minimal request that we put together. We reevaluated the cars again and feel that for safety purposes and in hopes of at some point being fully staffed, that we need to move forward and include in our request the replacement of the two vehicles. And so nothing's changed since the last meeting, and you were okay with it then, and I just wanted to bring it back to your attention and tell you we studied it some more and feel that this would be a bare bones request that we'll be submitting as soon as we get the instructions and they open up for us to enter data. And also we'll be preparing more information to go with it, and of course be prepared to answer a lot of questions when session starts and when the hearings start and we make our requests.
Thank you, Lisa. Any board members have any questions on this the appropriation request? If we don't have any questions, Lisa, I guess we may continue as is.
Okay.
That's what we question. So thank you.
She has mine on there, compensation to retain experienced qualified personnel. That's important to me. We try to keep the people we got so much invested into, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Anybody else? Hearing none, we go to Executive Director's report.
Okay, well, we continue to, and I want to make one little comment backwards here, back to finance. We're constantly watching what we're collecting, our receipts, and every year it seems like it goes up, but I'm going to tell you that we will have handled another $100,000 this year, even with pandemic in place. So we just keep moving right on forward, which brings me to the fact that currently right now, the staff's doing everything that they can, and we have minimal staff in the office. We continue that. We've pushed back that full-blown entry of staff into the office, as most all agencies and places of business have had to do. So bear with us if we've piled on a lot of duties on some of the people that are here every day, and we're rotating those people. We haven't hired anybody new. It's somewhat difficult to hire people, believe it or not. There's people out there that are looking for jobs, and we're reaching out in some new places, and but they're not beating our doors down to come to work here right now. It's
Lisa, what position we still have open?
an attorney.
Attorney.
We had an attorney on the hook, and they slipped off. So we're still wanting an attorney. We're holding, as we talked about last meeting, we're holding off on the other field investigator position. Sorry, Steve. He's used to that, because we've got to be prepared for the budget cuts that are definitely here and the ones that could come. I know many of you had an opportunity to listen to the comptroller's report, and we know that there's a chance that we're going to tighten our belt up even more. So we're considering that when we're hiring, but we want to get the attorney position filled. So,
Lisa, did we lose that attorney to another state agency?
yeah, they had more money than we do, but and so I think in actuality, it was probably a better fit for that individual. So, but we give a good plumbing 101 here, and we can get them trained. I mean, Vina knows everything about us, just that she's on the general counsel side, and we've had several attorneys, and they certainly learned about us, learned about plumbing, and we run them through the mill. So we're still hopeful. I've got some other applications, and we'll be visiting with those people soon. So, also, and I wanted to bring this to your attention, we count those individuals that are walk-in customers, and while they are down some from last year, we're still seeing, and I'll tell you, April, 229 people, February, 277 people. We've had 200 people come by in June that are walk-up customers. And we have a very strict procedure on handling money and conversations, and we have the glass between us, and so we're not directly touching or communicating with those people. We're communicating them through the glass door, but we still have a lot of walk-up customers, and it's something that that the plumbers they need that. It would be difficult for them to not have a walk-up service. So we continued that, and we're doing our best on that to accommodate all those needs. And I wanted to say that,
Lisa, on that note, are we limiting actual cash money, or we're using more cards and debit cards, so staff is not quite exposed with monetary money?
We have them actually, they show the money to us, show us the money, and they put it in an envelope outside the door, slide it underneath the door. We don't touch it at that time. We wait until the next day to touch it. We have gloves and different types of chemicals that we use up there. And so we have a real strict procedure of how we clean it, and then it moves to the next person and that sort of thing. We're not allowing anybody just to directly take the cash like that. So it does slow the process down, but we've got it down to, I hate to use the word science, but that's kind of what we developed here, was a scientific way to handle it all. And I'll have to give Naomi a lot of credit, because she's up there every day in and day out and handling that and working with the people as they line up there to pay. That said, I also wanted to mention that our fingerprint program continues to move forward. And as a reminder, we have July renewals, August, September, October, November. And anyone that has a tradesman license, please go get your fingerprints now. If you renew from July to November, you're going to need your fingerprints. If you renew in November, don't wait till November to go get them. And it's been a little bit more difficult for people to obtain their fingerprints. Previously you could sign in the morning and schedule to get your fingerprints and go get them in the afternoon. It's 3 to 7 days in a lot of areas because they're limiting the number of people that can go to the fingerprint kiosk at one time. It's an Identigo service, and all that information's on our website. And please, master plumbers, make sure if you have tradesmen that are renewing and or individuals that are applying for the tradesman, go ahead and get signed up, get those fingerprints, read about it on our website, because waiting until the very last minute, it takes time to get scheduled to get the fingerprints, then they submit it to us electronically. And then we look at those and individually pull those out, get them noted to their file, and move them on through. So it is quite a process, but they've done so good. And we've got a lot of apprentices doing it, a lot of masters, a lot of everybody. So keep up the good work. Bear in mind that it's a little slower processing time right now. So we've got a few months. We've got this big group coming. So the sooner we have them, the faster we can get them tagged, and it will prevent any delay in renewal, in particular the tradesmen. So I mentioned the plumber exams and retakes already, and exams. Let me remind everybody we are developing renewals by email. So if we have your address on file, you're going to get an email, and you may get a test one or two coming up, and it'll say it's time to renew. Here's a link going to the online service. And we also know, for those that do not have any email address on file, that our blue postcard will continue to go to those. But what it is it's an attempt to really cut down on our postage. You can imagine how much postage we use. So if we don't need to mail a card, we don't want to.
Lisa, do we have their the company email also that we can?
We have emails that are included as part of their basic data. And we also have a group of emails that are specific to responsible master plumbers. A lot of the responsible master plumbers use a company email. And so whatever we have on file for that particular person, that's where the notice will go.
Okay.
So, and you may get duplicated if you have two different emails. You may get it at both places. So we want you to respond back and let us know, if there's a preference or something. But it's Kevin's going to be building all of that, and we're working on it right now. And we hope to get the October renewals out. So it's coming. So you may get some test notices.
Okay. Can we touch on the new outreach and the consumer education program?
Well, I said last time we had such big plans to do a whole lot of stuff. Steve and I were all excited. Boy, we're going to go here and we're going to go there and do this career day and do that career day. And of course, can't go anywhere right now. But so we're exploring the virtual avenue now of the possibility. Some schools are saying they're going to do some virtual career days. So we'll do that. And anybody that has any kind of venue, be it virtual or physical, that would be a good community outreach that wants to learn about plumbers or learn about the board or plumbing as a career, by all means, let us hear from you, Steve and I, either one, because we still, we feel really, we have a lot of concern about not being out in the public near as much as we normally are. So.
Okay. The update on the Health Professions Council?
We've got some projects going, and just as a reminder, some of our projects can't complete until after one of their large updates where they're moving agency data from one program to another, which affects us because we're a shared program. We share with 7 other agencies. So after August, 2 of our projects will be back on their radar to do. And some of those projects have to do with our data transmission on the computer-based testing. So we're kind of excited about August getting here. And even though it's the end of the fiscal year, September is also a time when we get to make a lot of changes and do a lot of new things. So we're getting there. And I'll go ahead. Excuse me.
I'm sorry. So we started with the statistics on plumbing licensing and registrations. Were you going to touch on that?
Yeah, we just, and I'll send these out too. Dawn will be putting these out on the Google document for the continuing education providers, and they're welcome to distribute it. We went ahead and ran these through June 13th. And I want to say that currently we have, if everybody would get all renewed, we've got 11,659 master plumbers right now. And out of those, we've got the highest number ever of responsible master plumbers, and that is 7,743. So I can't say that they're all got giant businesses going, but they have business going. So Texas is doing some things right. I mean, Texas has got work, but that's the largest number of plumbing companies we've ever had.
I was just going to say that's probably attributable to the fact that we've relaxed the requirements to get an RMP, and the fee has come down or is going to come down, correct?
The fee will come down soon too, so you may see even more of an increase as part of our boarding.
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, the fee will be the next thing that we go ahead and adopt.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir, Stanley.
The thing that I'm concerned about is our backlog for taking the exam. I understand that string is probably 500 people long. And I know the bottleneck is with our exam center on our hands-on exam, which I'm certainly not making any reference that we want to get rid of it. What I'd like to see us do is be able to expand it. But I don't think there's any room left over there in that exam center to expand it unless we somehow create some more room. And the thing that I'm worried about is the way things are in the country today. It looks to me like part of the West Coast is going to be moving to Texas, and part of the Northeast Coast is going to be moving to Texas. And then we won't have 500 in line. We're going to have 1,000 or 1,500 that we're going to have to take care of. And I understand, I believe you told me that we had almost 1% higher collections so far this year, and the state's wanting to gobble up 5% of our appropriations. So we're going to lose 6% the way it's looking. And I will tell you that the other day that the comptroller had a meeting with the Legislative Budget Board. Everybody was in attendance because it was a virtual meeting. But his deal was that the state's going to run short $4.6 billion. Now, but after every time he said that, he said, but we don't really know what we're going to do because things are changing as we move along, and they're changing quite a bit for our board. In a conversation with some people, I've tried to tell them that this board needs more money, not less money. We're getting more and more pressure, and we're gonna lose some money. But I will also tell you that the controller in his speech mentioned the 5% reduction in appropriation money 3 different times. So they're really counting on that money. So I don't know how we can convince them that they need to leave our monies alone, or we're going to fall further and further behind if we can't hire competent people to run that place. And we need to get an appropriation to build a mobile exam center, and we can put that thing on the road. If it'll do 10 people a day, it's going to be a big help. And the days it's not in use on the road, it can be parked in the parking lot and used for exams there at the board. So, Mr. Chairman, I sure wish that we, or I hope that we try to make that perfectly clear to those people that they need to leave our monies alone. We're collecting more monies. If we had those 500 people that are in line paying license fees, we'd be up another 2-3%. So everything that's blocking us is costing the state money. So they're going to have to invest in us so we can invest in them. But I sure hope that we can, our appropriations request reflects the dire straits that we're in, and we ask for enough money to make this board function and get the right amount of people in there. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Stanley. Thank you for your comments.
Mr. Chairman, can I add one thing to my report?
Okay. Cool.
I'll make it quick, and some of it will address Stanley's concerns. It has to do with the exam center and the exams as well. You know, we know we're going to have to tighten our belts. It's a good practice in tightening belts. So we're going to tighten up, and we're going to be prepared to jump whichever way we've got to go. We've got one of the best teams that we've ever had here at the board as far as my examiners and staff. They're working really, really hard. And for those of you that don't know, and Stanley, you may not know this because no one's been able to visit us for a while. We actually have 2 more houses that we're able to give examinations in. We're in the process of changing many more documents to an electronic version, which is going to give us more room in the exam center. So we're prepared to jump either way, depending upon if we've got more money or less money. If we've got to put more people here, we've got the room to do it. We added 2 houses. We've got 1 more house coming on the way. And once we get a whole series of paper documents changed to electronic documents, that's going to give us room for 2 more places for individuals to sit to take the written portion of the exam. So we'll have people everywhere we can. And yeah, we're going to be bringing more money in the more people we examine, and we hope we get to keep it. But we're going to, if we need to pinch pennies by not sending out card mailers, then that's what we have to do. And so we're going to be prepared to go whichever way we've got to go. Ultimately, Stanley, I love your idea of the mobile exam center. If you can get that, hey, we're all for it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be happy to answer any other questions.
Thank you, Ms. Lisa. And next time we'll jump to item 13. John, were you going to say something?
No, sir.
Okay. So we go to item 13, and that's future board meeting dates. If I'm mistaken, we put basically the next meeting to be determined or as needed. Lisa, what are you thinking?
Of course, we'd like this is great that we were able to have this virtual meeting, and this puts us back having 1 or more per quarter. And we would like to we want to stay on track and either have virtual or have physical meeting, whichever the case may be, in October, that second week in October coming. And however, between now and then, we're going to have the CPE committee meeting, which we'll be posting. And because of that, we may want to have a special board meeting prior to October, if you'd be okay with that, because we have a rule that we'd like to get proposed and get it out on the register. So we'll be trying to schedule some dates and getting with you and work those around the requirements and getting rules posted in the register. But October for sure.
Unless other board members have any other dates in mind, but I would like to look at maybe the end of August. This is a lot easier than traveling up to Austin and basically spending all that money. Also, we got to take advantage of this time to do these as many meetings as we can to try to help you and staff, Lisa. With that in mind, would the end of August would be good for staff to prepare?
The last week of August is a very physically and fiscal challenging time for us. With all due respect, we count all of our open apps, we close all of our end of the year items. So that very last week is a little bit hectic, especially in purchasing and finance, and even complaints have to be entered up to the very last day there. So we may have to work around that middle part of August into the first part of September.
Or the first part, the middle of September would be good, Mr. Chairman.
All righty. Well, then
little bit ahead of the flu season, because I think fall's gonna be pretty rough.
Yeah, it's gonna be okay. Okay, so Labor Day is the 7th, and we're looking more or less the 3rd or 4th of September, which is a Thursday or Friday, and or the following Thursday or Friday, the 10th or the 11th. If not, we're starting getting closer to the October 12th meeting, or the 14th, September 14th.
I can look on our, do y'all like doing middle of the week or Mondays, Wednesdays, or does anybody care now?
Oh, Mondays are definitely me.
Okay.
Fridays and Mondays are crazy in construction, so.
I understand. Sir, with your permission, I'll send out some possible dates once I need to look at Venus' schedule too.
Yeah, she get into that, so yeah.
And we'll try to get something together. We want to have that committee meeting, and so one of our goals is to get a possible draft of that, maybe for some discussion at the board meeting too.
Okay.
But I have the one in ink for October for sure.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on this future board meeting dates? Hearing none, we'll go to item 14, issues for consideration at the next board meeting, which you just discussed, Lisa. Is there anybody else?
This is Ben. Make sure I'm not on mute.
Can
y'all hear me? Okay. All these things that we're talking about are wonderful and moving forward, and I think it's a great thing. Is there going to be a chance to get any sort of update that might be beneficial to us and the public regarding our longevity as a board? Is there going to be any sort of information that we can have that might give people a good warm and fuzzy about what's happening, or no? Do you think we'll know anything at that point?
No.
No.
No. Okay.
We're going to keep going, and we're going to do everything we possibly can here. Staff is, and we're going to be ready. We're going to be ready to jump whichever way we got to jump. We've got work to do. We've got plumbers to license. We've got complaints to work, and we're here.
And as a board, we're going to meet the number of times that we're going to meet. We're just going to follow the same exact procedures that we've been doing for forever. So
Okay, just business as usual. Okay, that's fine. I'm all board with that.
Lisa, I have a question for you. Have you had any more update on the other board members from the governor's office?
No, sir, I have not. And traditionally, now would not be a time when we would get new board members after November. I might expect that if we were going to get any, we would hear something then. So I'm sure the appointments office will reach out to us. And as far as I know, they're still taking applications. So we'd love to have, we like our board members we've got, but boy, wouldn't it be nice to have 3 more? We could divide up some of this stuff even more.
yes. Okay, anybody else have any issues for consideration of the next board meeting? Hearing none, we'll go to item 15, and that's to adjourn. Do I hear a motion?
Ed Thompson makes that motion.
Robbie seconds.
And we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against, before anybody leaves, I just want to make a quick comment. All those against? Motion carries unanimously. I do want to thank all the participants, all the public. It seems like we have 42 participants, including staff, which is wonderful. It allows me to think that at least we have the same number of participants that we've had in our regular board meetings.
Maybe more.
Or maybe more. Yeah, you're right. But this is good for the public, and this is good for us and for staff too. So I appreciate your time, and with that, we'll see you next time. Thank you.
And I
Stay
just
safe.
like, and I just have to
You
say,
can add
everyone
20,
stay,
you can add 25 more for our class today.
and I just like to say, everyone stay safe with things on the arise